Hi, welcome to the First Steps video for ProVision. This video will run through a few concepts to get you started in your new ProVision instance. We will go over a few things to think about before you set up your instance, and a basic overview of ProVision's resource system. Before you begin, a little advanced planning will go a long way to creating an organized instance. A few questions you should review with your internal team include: what type of components are you currently tracking? What components do you wish to track in ProVision? This impacts creating resources and what data you enter into ProVision. I'll talk more about the resource system shortly. What is your current data structure and what is your ideal data structure? This impacts the resource hierarchy. In ProVision, you can have child resources under a parent resource. Knowing the structure that you want ahead of time will help you when you are setting up your resources. Who needs access to what data? This impacts setting up users and groups. In ProVision, permissions are very flexible. You can limit users to only have access to certain resources or provision areas if you'd like, or conversely, have users with full administrative access to everything. First, make sure that you and your internal team have a plan for what sort of components you're currently tracking and what components you wish to track in ProVision. These can be physical assets such as servers and routers, individual people or companies, or places holding your assets such as data centers. In ProVision, these components are called resources. A resource is simply an umbrella term for the components that you're tracking. The generic type of a resource is called a section. For example, you might have a server named test server, but its generic type of resource is a server, so we would associate test server with the section server. The item itself, test server, would be an entry under the server section. Think of an entry as the individual item you are tracking. It has a specific name, it might have an IP address, a physical address, or additional descriptive data that is associated with it. Here, we can see that under the Data Center section, we have two entries. One is the Ashburn Data Center, the other is the Boston Data Center. And under Servers, we have entries for Test Server and Backup Server. Another part of ProVision's resource system is called categories. Categories allow you to group resources together under a name of your choosing to further organize your resources. In this example, we're grouping these racks, servers, and routers under the My Custom Grouping category. Creating categories is entirely optional, so you can decide internally if the additional organization is needed in your instance. Next, having your resources listed out, you will need to understand how they relate to each other. The resource hierarchy structure in ProVision allows for child resources to be created underneath a parent resource. The structure decided upon will influence how resources are set up in ProVision. We recommend developing a hierarchy diagram showing your organization strategy. It might look something like this. A third area to think of is determining who on your team will be working in ProVision and what they need access to. You might have internal users and roles, partners related to specific resources, or customers and departments with limited access to only their respective resources. In this diagram, we have created groups for each of these scenarios. We have internal groups, partner groups, and customer groups. Each of these groups has access to different resources, permission levels, and users assigned to them. As a whole, this makes up the ProVision permission system. The permission system allows you to fine-tune access to resource data to be as detailed as you need. In ProVision, the permission structure is handled by assigning users to groups, then setting the specific resource level create, read, update, and delete permissions for that group. Permissions can be set to allow everything from accessing only a single resource to full global access to all resources. You can also choose to enable access to only certain ProVision functional areas. In this example, the group My Group allows the users Bob Smith and Jane Doe to only read IPAM and DNS data for the resource AwesomeCo. The permission structure is designed to give you as much flexibility as you need to accommodate most use cases. You will need to get more specific later, but having some high-level groups to work with is a great start. Once you've thought about the points described in this video, you're ready to move on to part 2, an overview of how to get your data into ProVision. There, We will go through basic concepts of what data you can use, an overview of the importing tools available in ProVision, and a recommended workflow for bringing in your data to get you started. We hope this video has helped to give you an idea of some first steps to take to work in ProVision. As always, if you still need help or have questions, contact us and our team can help you out.